Well, Obama administration and Clinton campaign communications director Jennifer Palmieri came on the show last night to talk about her new book, Dear Madam President, as well as the profound changes that have taken place in the Democratic Party that she has served for 25 years. We ran out of time last night, but our conversation continued after the show, some on camera and some not. She didn't seem to enjoy it very much. I did. Anyway, today she tweeted this: Tucker Carlson tonight is supposed to air a segment about my book. Don't hold out high hopes for it. It was like we were speaking different languages. Expect to see blank stares from him. See those every night. And hemming for me as I struggle to explain the obstacles women face. I didn't think it was that bad, but you can judge. Here's a portion of it. So what's the book about?
So the book is about, I wrote it, I wanted to be consciously forward-looking. I wanted to be consciously optimistic. So I said, I want to write, not a book about the campaign, I want to write a book of advice about, based on, I had two experiences, what I learned watching a woman running for president and the obstacles that I think still exist for women. And I wrote it as a letter to the first woman president because I wanted everyone reading it to believe that's what they could be.
So it's not strictly speaking a political book.
It's really not a political book at all.
So as you assess the obstacles to women rising either in politics or in business or in any field,
right.
Was it exclusively men? Was it other women? Was it a combination?
It is, I think I did not go into Hillary's campaign thinking that it was a big deal to elect the first woman president or that it was going to be hard, okay? I feel like I've had a great career. I've had men and women both that supported me, great mentors, and I thought we had equality. But there is a question about women and ambition that exists. When Hillary was a senator, right? She was really popular. People liked her a lot in that job. When she was Secretary of State, she was really popular. People liked her in that job. When she was a candidate for Senate, she wasn't as popular. She confounded them. And I think it is because she has always been a woman who was stepping out of roles that women traditionally have. I mean, do you believe that the hatred that exists for Hillary Clinton is rational? Do you think that she is deserving? Do you think that Hillary Clinton has done so much in her life that she is deserving of the hatred? Does it not strike you as if something's amiss there?
I don't know. I mean, I marvel at how much I'm disliked sometimes. I'll be honest with you. I will say this.
You, my friend, are not disliked the way Hillary Clinton is.
I will say this, which I think is actually interesting, and you can speak to it. You've been in Democratic politics for more than 20 years. You worked for Leanne Panetta and John Edwards and Bill Clinton. Yeah. You worked for Hillary Clinton. All of those people, while liberal maybe for the time, by today's standards are conservative Democrats. I mean, let's be honest.
The country has moved. The country
That's really my question.
Moved.
So Hillary Clinton could never run for any office on her husband's 1992 platform. That's true.
But
no Democrat could.
No, the country has changed since 1992. The country is not dealing with the same problems it's dealing with since 1992. It's a very different thing. But that is not what my book is about. What my book is about is recognizing that there are still problems, there are still obstacles that stand in the way, some which women, some which we have inherited, some which live in, my own mind in terms of, inhibitions I feel about being able to speak my mind, or if I say this, am I going to be attacked? And what I am doing in the book is saying, don't worry so much about whether or not you think your perspective matters. Let me promise you that it does. Let me promise you you have something interesting to say. Let me promise you if you're a woman at a table and there's mostly men around you, your perspective is more important, not less. Like, those are the lessons that I had to learn in working in a White House.
Jennifer Palmieri, thank you for that.
Thank you, Tucker.
We tried to be fair in the way we presented that. It was a very long conversation, so if you want to hear more, it's on our Facebook page, which is Tucker Carlson Tonight. Leave a comment if you're there. It'll go up also on foxnews.com. For a reaction to what you just saw, author and columnist Mark Stein joins us. Mark, that conversation got me thinking about, she asked, I thought actually a pretty good question, which is why do people dislike Hillary Clinton so much? And I think I actually thought about it, because Hillary's not the most offensive on policy among all Democrats, but she grates. Why is that? And I think it's because there's this weird thing that she does where she sells herself as a very strong figure, and I think she is tough, actually. It's one thing I like about her. And then when attacked, immediately retreats into the victim pose. You can't say that I'm a woman, you're sexist. And you just sort of think, that's unfair. That's not good sportsmanship. Like, pick one. Are you ferocious and tough, or are you weak and persecuted? Does that bother you?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's actually the problem. But that duality, as it were, I think derives from her role. She's not only someone who's a politician in her own right, but she was also, for many years, and this is how she came to national prominence, the spouse of a prominent politician. And I think that's the difference. When you look at, I was struck by the subtitle of Jennifer Palmieri's book, An Open Letter to the Women Who Will Run the World. Well, actually, outside the Democrat Party and outside America, women do run a lot of the world. I don't happen to agree with them. I mean, Angela Merkel has single-handedly wrecked Europe by letting in millions of phony baloney refugees. Theresa May is going all super wobbly on Brexit. But what they're not is the wife of the previous guy, which doesn't pass the smell test.
Well,
and you can't shatter the glass ceiling when you're doing this Latin American Eva Peron thing.
That's such a good point. But shouldn't it be off limits, just as a matter of fairness, to pose as someone who's tough and decisive, and then when questioned, as you would question anybody who seeks to have power over you, whip around and accuse the person of bias for asking a conventional question? Like, that shouldn't be allowed.
No, and again, I think what's interesting to me is that the rest of the world has moved way beyond this. So all this talk about how America is uniquely sexist, I don't get. I've sat in the Australian Parliament during Prime Minister's Question Time and watched Julia Gillard, a Labour Prime Minister who I don't happen to agree with, and Julie Bishop, the Deputy Leader of Her Majesty's Loyal Opposition at that time, clobbering each other back and forth. And neither of them would say, if it all goes wrong, they don't say, oh, stop beating up on me, I'm a woman. The fact is, this disastrous investment in Hillary Clinton, to go back to what you've been talking about on the rest of the show, I mentioned this on your show a couple of months back, and I think it's an important point. One reason the party has gone left is because Democratic centrists were represented by the kleptocrat Clintons for so long.
Yes.
So if you're in the Democrat Party and you don't want to feel dirty because the Clintons are in it for themselves, they're opportunists, they're running this rotten charity which is basically there to provide them with a head of state lifestyle when the public declines to make them heads of state. If you're a Democrat, the left is the comparatively clean side of the party.
Right. It's totally right. They discredited by their sleaziness centrist politics. That's a very smart point, which I'd never thought of, but I think you're absolutely right.
That has huge repercussions, and Jen Palmieri ought to be addressing that instead of condescendingly telling the rest of the world that Hillary is the future, because that ain't true.
Very smart. Mark Steyn, as always, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Tucker.
Our biggest state